All right, everybody, Leo Cannell here with our latest episode of the Seven Figures Club podcast, where we help audiences who are looking to build a seven figures business. As we always talk about, only 7% of businesses in this country break that seven figures mold. And today's guest, Jared Goetz, not only has built multi-seven figure businesses, but actually 8-figure businesses. And he's done it in a very short period of time. He's been involved in some amazing products. And so I'm going to hand over the focus to him real quick to just give us a quick little intro of who Jared is and a little bit about his entrepreneurial journey. And then we'll start asking him some questions because there's a lot to learn. There are over 32 million businesses in the U.S. and over 90% of them will never break seven figures in annual sales. So how do we as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs break into that seven figures club? This podcast will relentlessly share the secrets, strategies, and tactics I've used to create 3 multi-seven figures businesses and bring in even more successful entrepreneurs than me to share their inspirational stories and tactics to success. You can create your dream business and life right now. So buckle up and let's go.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I love doing things like this because we're all the same and that we all have, a mission that we're going after, and being able to share my insights can help other people, and actually talking about this stuff with you reinforces my own ideas. So I'm grateful to be on here. I appreciate it. My journey has been a pretty extensive journey for, being in business for about 10 or 11 years. I got started in the concert promotion industry, actually. And I started bringing big artists to my college, and I realized that the industry, the business model, we were spending too much money on artists. So we created our own show. You guys could look it up on YouTube. But don't do it anymore. It's been 8 years since we've done it, but it was called Electric Flurry. And it was the world's largest foam party. So we got arenas and DJs and giant foam cannons that shot foam 200 feet in the air, and circus acts. And we started doing this show all over the country. And I had made about $1 million when I was 21. Which was cool because I come from a single mom, 1-bedroom apartment, only child. So I knew I was wanting more, but subconsciously I never believed it was possible. But I actually outperformed my beliefs, which gave me hope that there's a lot more. But by the time I was 22, turning 23, I didn't know enough about cash flow management. I didn't know enough about bookkeeping or accounting or a lot of the things that are really important for business. I wasn't ready for my success. So I booked the show that was too big. We didn't sell enough tickets. I lost all my money. Ended up moving back in with my mom. And it was tough because I had built up this belief about myself and this ego that I was somebody that at the point I had nothing. I was living back with my mom. And I started getting into more how do I just be happy, right? And from about a month of not knowing what I was going to do, the next opportunity popped up into my life. And that's the cool thing, is because you never know when things are going to happen. And you always expect things to go one way, but almost every time they go a different way, and almost every time they're better than what you expected. So I got reached out to by a company that a lot of the listeners have probably heard about. It was called Yik Yak, social media app. It was like Twitter, but it was anonymous and it was local. And they had just raised their Series A, $10 million. They were looking to get more college students on their app. And I was like, well, if you promote your app the same way I promote my shows, and it's a free app, you'll get a lot of people on for relatively low cost. So long story short, I came on board Yik Yak. I put together campus tours. We got a tour bus. We got it wrapped. We got a big yak mascot. We got a mechanical yak that we could set up on campuses. And we booked 35 schools on the West Coast. We had 8 people on the bus. We lived on there for 4 months, and we made it go super viral. We recorded everything. We threw these big parties, and we helped Yik Yak grow from 100,000 monthly active users to about 10 million in 4 months, which was explosive growth. Then that caused us to go raise another $62 million Series B. So at that time, I had a significant amount of equity in the company, and we were valued at $450 million. So I was like, I was in a really good place. And if you asked me a year and a half ago, I wouldn't even known I was there. And with doing all that, I started developing a little bit of a reputation for being good at marketing. So I was lucky to get my hands on a hoverboard. Somebody was like, hey, how do we sell these things? And I had never seen it before. So I got this thing in the mail. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I stepped on it. I was like, whoa. Started riding it around and everyone's asking me where to buy it. So I built my first Shopify store. And when people asked me, where do you buy this hoverboard? I just gave out a business card. And it was like a little side hustle. But I was making about $1,000 profit on each one I sold. So I was selling like 2 or 3 of them a week. And I started getting obsessed with how do I sell 1,000 of them and make $1 million? And I ended up getting connected with all these big influencers and we blew up the brand. We actually blew it up to a point where Mark Cuban reached out because he was interested in buying the patent on the hoverboard and he liked the brand that we built. So we basically agreed with him that we would stop selling these like Chinese knockoff hoverboards to preserve our brand for when his comes out. Didn't end up happening, but it did show me the power of e-commerce. From there, I started going out to China, went to the Canton Fair, found other viral products. I don't know. Have you ever seen those inflatable loungers? You wave them through the air and they fill up and then you can like clip them and lay down on them. They're a super viral product. So I was one of the first people to bring those to the US. And then I discovered dropshipping about 5 years ago. And I was fascinated that you could market and sell as much as you want without ever having to hold the inventory. Because one of the biggest pain points I had was wiring $250,000 in China, waiting for the product to come in, paying for a truck to bring it to the warehouse, paying for warehousing, shipping it out, running out of inventory. So when I discovered dropshipping, I was like, this is amazing. So I built the dropshipping store and I just went crazy marketing. And I was selling very similar products that I was importing, but I didn't have to touch them. And I grew my first Shopify store from 0 to $2 million in 60 days. And that was like by far the biggest growth I'd ever experienced. And from there, stayed in the dropshipping space for a while. And I just had a lot of people asking me like, how are you making so much money selling products online? So I discovered the info space. I saw a lot of people making money selling courses. So I built my course. It was called eCom Hacks Academy. We grew that to about 10,000 students, big email list, big Facebook group, things like that. And from there, I was getting to a fork in the road in my career because I didn't want to be the e-commerce guru. I didn't want to be the guy like selling people dreams, even though it was very possible. A lot of people didn't have the business acumen or the emotional intelligence you need to do what we were selling them that they can do. So we decided to pivot and move into the software that can actually serve the community. And that's when we built Zendrop, which is my current company, and it's what I'm in for the long haul.
Man, that's an unbelievable journey. What would you say, about 10 years is kind of what you just went through, kind of the last 10 years, or how many years are we talking?
Yeah, I'm 30 now, and I started Electric Flurry when I was 19. So yeah, like 10, 11 years. 10,
11 years, man. That's a crazy journey. Let's kind of unpack this and start from the beginning of this. So at the beginning, you grow up, single mom, things are not easy. They don't come easy for you. How is it you have no fear to just go out there and start booking big, massive, concert type artists for these venues? Where did you push past the fear, or was fear just not a thing for you because you had nothing to lose? What was your initial mindset to launch and have the guts to go do something like that?
Yeah, I guess I had the false belief that I wanted material things when I was young. I always thought I remember when I was 16 years old, I saw some young guy driving a Lamborghini, like when I was down visiting my grandma in Florida. And I was like, man, if I could just get a Lamborghini, I'd be set. And I had this false belief that material things would make me happy, and I had nothing to lose. And I also had this false confidence that I was able to do all these things, which at the time I wasn't, but I didn't know that you kind of have to learn as you go. And while I was in college, there was a kid who grew up in the town next to me. He was about 3 years older, and he was the big success story of the town. He built a really big concert promotion company, flying on private jets with Avicii and Tiesto and booking these nationwide tours. And I had done a favor for his sister. Back when I was like 17, 18 years old, we used to rent out these houses in the Hamptons, and then we'd rent them for a month, and then we would rent them out to prom parties. I couldn't get houses to have a party at after prom. And we got his sister a house like last minute. So when he was bringing his concert tour to Albany, where I went to school, he was like, if you want to come on as a 50% partner, you have the opportunity to. You just have to raise 50% of the funds. And we needed to put together like 75 grand. And I had like maybe 5 grand at the time because I was a broke college student. But I went to like all my friends, all the kids in my fraternity, all the people I knew with money. And I was raising like 2 grand from one kid, 5 from another, 10 from another. And I was just giving them their pro rata share of the profits of the show based on what we made. And yeah, first we basically had the opportunity to do 2 shows back to back. First one was Steve Aoki, who's a really famous DJ. Second one was Lupe Fiasco, which was a really big hip hop artist. And if we had sold out both shows, we would make like 150 grand. So first night we sold out. I was on top of the world. We were up like 50 grand. And then the next night we lost 50 grand. So we ended up breaking even. But it was my entry into that industry, that came out of it.
The power and the magic of events and helping, bring a lot of people together. So amazing story. And then the next step there is after you built that up and eventually, do well, make a lot of money at a young age, but like you said, don't have the accounting, the cash flow skills, maybe the money management or where you should put your money next. Then you actually go through and you were talking about losing a lot of that momentum and money that you had earned and that initial success going away. And you actually have to go back and move back in with your mom. And I know a lot of people, when they see some of that early success and then they see an early, failure like that, like they have a lot of trouble, a lot of people rebounding and in getting back to it. What do you think was the key to you being able to rebound and get back on track so quickly?
Yeah. So, when I was in that industry, I just had this vision of doing a show with 100,000 people and making $40 million on it. And I was vision driven. So I was just going, I was just booking shows, selling tickets, using the ticket money to book other shows. And it was just this big machine. And I had no idea where we were. So we ended up losing everything. And when I moved back in with my mom, I was like, I had this inflated, I guess you could call it an ego, where I was like, I made it. And then now I have nothing. So the person I thought I was, I actually wasn't. So I was beginning to get a little depressed and discouraged, and I didn't really know where to turn. So I started focusing on just trying to be happy. So waking up early, going for a run. My mom lives in Freeport, New York. So I would run over to the water, read books. I read a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And that was kind of my intro into spirituality, meditation and stuff. And I was actually starting to feel good again. And then out of nowhere, I got an email from Yik Yak. They actually wanted to sponsor my shows because they wanted to get more college students on. But when they asked me, I was first I was ooh, this could be a good opportunity. Maybe I can get them to sponsor a whole tour and I can put together a tour again. And then I was is that really best for them? I don't think it is. So I was let me just tell them what I think is best for them with no intentions. I don't want anything out of it. So I explained to them, how I think they should market their app, and they were interested. So they basically asked me to fly out to Atlanta the next day. That's where they were based, and talk more. And I had nothing to lose, nothing to gain. So I flew out to Atlanta. I met with them. I was just trying to be genuine and true. And it led to, hey, do you want to come on and lead this initiative? And that's kind of how I rebounded from being at a really low point.
So you were able to rebound because you had made so much noise and become known as someone who gets these events, puts those together. So even though that venture didn't end up, building long-term, wealth and success for you, it did open the door and get your name out there as someone who puts events together. And then I think there's some amazing gold nuggets you just dropped there for everybody. Instead of going in, how can this be all about me benefiting? It's how can I serve you, and how can I really provide value and just give you the honest truth? Like, this is probably the direction you want to go, and you're going to be able to grow a lot faster if you do. And then one thing leads to another, like, wow, he's absolutely right. And then you're like, well, why don't you come run it? And so instead of going out there with how can I benefit, it's how can I benefit you? And that ability to serve and give them what they need opens the door to this massive, massive opportunity. And so then you get started in there. And now what's the next step? Tell us about your marketing strategies and genius. You said you grew that they were at 100,000 users when you came in, and literally a few months later, you've grown it to 10 million. Is that right?
Yeah. So I can't.
You 100x that.
I can't take full credit because we were a team, but
for sure,
the initiatives that I put in place were what helped make the app go so viral. Basically, what we did was they raised a $10 million Series A, and it was a small group of us. By the time I came on, I came on board in August, and I had until September 13th, I remember the date, to have a full-on campus tour put together. So it was just me, and I had to go find a tour bus. I didn't know where to get a tour bus. I had to go hire a driver, do background checks, get a wrap designed, wrap the whole bus, get a trailer that fits on the bus, got a custom-built mechanical bull into a yak. We got a yak mascot created. I hired 7 promoters to come on the bus with me. We got T-shirts, ping pong balls, koozies, socks, like a bunch of merchandise purchased. And then that was the easy part. The hard part was mapping out what schools we're going to go to, finding a hotel that could accommodate a 45-foot tour bus with the trailer in every city, find a point of contact at every school. I was on Facebook. I was actually looking for Red Bull campus reps because I knew they were like cool people. So I'd look at the campus reps at all these schools, DM them, hey, we got this company, we want to come on your campus and we want to throw a party or we want to give things out. And what we basically, by the day, like the last day of it, we had the bus in Washington State. Everyone had flown in. We all met each other that day. We had all the merchandise there. Like the mascot got shipped in the next day. We literally by the wire got it all done. And then by the first tour stop, nobody knew who we were. We were this giant green bus that showed up on campus. Everyone's like, what is this thing? And then, we started recording, filming, putting it on YouTube, putting it on social. And then by the 15th tour stop, people started oh my God, the Yik Yak bus is here. By the 35th stop, everyone's waiting for us to get there. There's hundreds of people waiting for the bus to get there. We're throwing these crazy parties, and it's just going viral. And then at the same time, we had, a media buying team targeting all these people with ads. And we realized that if we can get 1,000 people to download the app, there would be a network effect, that there would be at least 4,000 people total that would download the app within 2 weeks. So our goal was to go on campus and get 1,000 downloads. And that was it. I mean, it went viral from there, and we were able to go raise more money and do more tours. And that was kind of how we got off the ground and made it go viral.
Unbelievable. And so then it's growing. The users are growing. You're doing this nationwide university campus tour and getting college students to engage in this new social media app. And then what's the next step there? At some point, then that's when you also were getting into the hoverboard, which we've got a few of those at my house. My kids love them. And how did you get involved in that? And what was that process like?
Yeah, so I'd started developing a little bit of a reputation that I was good at marketing, and a friend of mine he was big in importing electronics and selling them to retail. He was at the Canton Fair in China, and he called me and he was like, Jared, I found the coolest product. I've never seen it before. I don't think anyone's seen it before. I want to get your opinion on it. And I'm like, okay, what is it? He's like, I don't want to tell you what it is. I want to just send you one. So he packed it up, DHL Express shipped it to me. And I was at Lake Havasu in Arizona because we're sponsoring spring break. Then I get this thing in the mail like a week later, and I opened it up and it was a hoverboard, but I had never seen one before. So it looked like alien technology. It's like, how is this thing going to work? It's like a mini Segway. Like, this is too good to be true. Plug it in, step on it. And I had like 5 people in my hotel room, and I'm like, everyone's like, oh my God, like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I started riding it around the Lake Havasu resort where the spring break was going on. And like, people were running from every direction to like, where did you get that thing? Like, can I try it? Like, how much is it? I'm like, I don't know where you can get it. I don't know how much it is. And like, no, you can't try it because I don't want you to hurt yourself. And, but I was like, if I could just start selling these, I could probably sell a lot of them. So I basically started going to Starbucks at like 7 in.the.morning every day. Made my first Shopify store. Took photos on the iPhone, videos on the iPhone, like basic thing. And then every time somebody started asking me, where did you get this from? I just started handing out business cards, and they started going to my website and buying them. And that's kind of how it started. And then I was making about $1,000 to $1,200 profit on each one because we were getting them for $300, drop shipping them for $1,500. And I started obsessing over how can I sell 1,000 of these hoverboards? And I didn't know anything about Facebook ads. I didn't know anything about influencer marketing, but I did have one friend that was a professional snowboarder, and he had like 30,000 followers. So I was like, maybe if his name was Jack McCall. I was like, maybe if Jack McCall posts this on his Instagram, we'll sell some. So he posted it, and we got like 2 sales. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And Jack was friends with a bunch of these big influencers in LA, like Nash and Hayes Greer. You know, they got 10, 20 million followers. A bunch of these other kids with like 5, 10 million followers. And basically, I showed them the product. They loved it. They all invested like $5,000 a piece so we can get inventory. And they started posting it, and we immediately sold out. We did like $250,000 in sales. And it got to a point where our brand was like, we had like 300,000 followers with a ton of engagement, 50,000 likes on every photo kind of thing. And it got so much attention that Mark Cuban actually reached out because he was interested in purchasing the patent for the hoverboard because nobody had it at the time. And he reached out and he's like, Jared, I love the brand and I want to work with you guys, but you can't sell these cheap Chinese knockoffs because it's a liability to your brand. He's like, if you stop selling it today, we can do a deal when I get the patent. So after 1 month of selling the hoverboards, we stopped selling them in hopes to do a deal with Cuban. But the deal never went through. But it was a great way to get off the ground anyway.
No, amazing. And so now, are you still working for the social media app at the same time?
I was, but I started making. So I had a lot of shares in Yik Yak.
Yeah.
And, that was like where I thought I was going to go. But I started making so much more money selling the hoverboards that I was between a rock and a hard place. I didn't know if I wanted to stay at Yik Yak or go do this on my own. But I saw so much potential of selling online because you could reach unlimited people. And I thought I had a formula down. So I told my business partner, I'm like, Jack came out as a partner. I'm like, if I leave Yik Yak, will you move to LA with me? And we get a warehouse and we go to China and we find products and really do this right. And he's like, I'm like 90% in. I'm like, I need 100% or I can't do it. Next day, he's like, yeah, I'm 100% in. So I made a hard decision. I quit on good terms. I sold my shares back to the company at a discounted rate. So I made a little exit. And then we went out to China and we just started our journey. So I left Yik Yak.
So you start that journey. Now you go to China, and now it's what are the next viral products? But before we get to that, people are starting to notice that you're a marketing genius. So let's break that down. Let's synthesize that for all the startups, all the aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are looking to get something off the ground, working from home. What is it that was so effective about your marketing strategies early on in your career?
Well, to be honest with you, the marketing strategies early on with the hoverboards, I could have marketed those anyway. The product marketed itself. So my idea was just put it in front of as many eyeballs as possible. I wasn't selling them on this is the fastest one or this is the best one because there was 3 of them. It was everyone just wanted to buy one. So it was just get it in front of as many eyeballs as we could. So we were using influencers, not even paying them, just sending them a free hoverboard, like, hey, can you post? And they were posting. But now the marketing strategies are all about testing for us. Like with drop shipping and e-commerce, it's like the thing about, to get a little bit ahead, the thing about drop shipping is that you don't need to hold inventory, and the business model is so easy because you don't have to touch anything that you could test hundreds of products, and typically like 1 in every 20 that you test will get sales and be a winning product. So it's just a numbers game now. So back then it was like, you can market this thing any way possible. Now it's about testing. I can riff on that more if you.
So how do you run those tests? Are we doing an Instagram campaign, or what does a test look like?
Yeah, so I'll soft drop my company in here. I own a company called Zendrop. And this is what I'm in on full time, on board. Like, this is the long term vision. Basically, with Zendrop, there's over 400,000 products on our catalog that you could pick from. And if we don't have it on our catalog, you can basically just paste an AliExpress link in. We scrape all the data, and we'll have the product on the platform within 1 day. And you could add as many products as you want to your store. And then basically what you do is, I have a testing method. For anyone that knows Facebook ads, this will make sense. If you don't know Facebook ads, you might be confused, but I'll keep it really short and sweet so I don't confuse too many people. The testing method that I like to use is called the lazy man testing method. And basically what you're doing is you're putting up 30 ad sets at a $3 budget each, with no targeting, US 18 plus, right? And after the first day, if they don't have a view content, you kill the ad. After the second day, if they don't have an add to cart, you kill the ad. And after the third day, if it doesn't have a purchase, you kill the ad. And then after the third day, if you have 5 or more purchases, then you go on to put your energy into building out the page and making the product look good and get videos made. Because what happens is, a lot of people who are getting started, they put all this energy into doing something before they know it works. And then it doesn't work and they get discouraged. And then they start to associate trying really hard with getting discouraged, and they don't want to try hard anymore, and then they give up. So my high level objective here is just test as quickly and simply as you could. The lazy man testing method could be found in, if you have a Zendrop account, we have something called Zendrop Academy, and it teaches you all the different marketing tactics we use. But it's just do it as quickly as you could. And then when you find traction, that's when you want to invest your energy into making it better. Otherwise, you're going to get discouraged.
Jared, what's the website? Is it Zendrop.com, or what's the website?
Yeah, Zendrop.com.
All right. With a Z, right? Z-E-N?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Zendrop.com. Go check that out. Again, amazing gold nuggets that Jared just dropped there. And this really is obviously very true in e-commerce. But I think it's really true in most businesses. The problem that most people have is exactly what Jared just explained. So you choose a product and you think it's the product, you think it's the thing, and you go out and you spend all this money and you invest all this time. And instead of, just hoping and thinking that that's the product, you just never know. You've got to test lots of products, lots of offers. And then when you get the result, then you can go in, and then that's where you spend more. That's where you do the advertising campaign. And those are the ones you work hard at. And the problem that most people make that I see in entrepreneurship is they just choose something and they decide, oh, I'm Steve Jobs. I know what the market wants. We're not all Steve Jobs, but if we'll test out the right products, and then the market will say, hey, this one's a winner and these other 10 are not, then we can go all in with the products that we know are getting results based on what the market tells us. And that's a super important concept that Jared just taught. And e-commerce, obviously in the last year with the pandemic, everything that's happened, Shopify, Amazon, Walmart stores, all of these e-commerce opportunities are only going to get bigger. And now you talked about Zendrop Academy. What's some of the next steps that someone can look into and really decide if this is an opportunity that they should pursue? And where do they find the Zendrop Academy at?
Yeah, so for me, dropshipping was the single best business opportunity I've ever came across, because I'm obsessed with efficiency. So sending money to China or to a manufacturer bringing a product into your warehouse, shipping it out. It takes a lot of movement. There's a lot of moving parts in between. And drop shipping makes it easy. You can just start marketing and selling, and you can make a lot of money doing it if you do it right. If you do what we just said and invest all your time in making this page look perfect, and creating your own videos, and then like five times you do this and you're spending 3 days on each one, you're going to want to give up. But with drop shipping, it's like you don't know what the best product's going to be. People ask me all the time, hey Jared, do you think this product will sell well? And my answer is, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think at all. Like, literally does not matter. I sold a product. It was a stuffed hamster that talks back to you. I didn't think it was going to sell well, but we sold over 100,000 units of it. Totally random product. But with Zendrop Academy, it could be found in your Zendrop account. So basically, all you do is you sign up, you connect to your Shopify store, and then it's in your resources. It's if you have a pro membership. And Leo, if you want, I can give your listeners a free.
Please.
Yeah. So tell me what you want the code to be, and I'll get it made.
Make it 7 figures, just the digit 7 and then figures.
Cool. So I will have a free month of Zendrop Pro for your listeners. And we also have a free account. The free account you could start selling, but with the pro account, you could actually, all your packages that get shipped out, we'll put a little custom thank you card on a nice high gloss card stock. We have express shipping for you. We have auto fulfill. So every time you make a sale, you don't have to do anything. We'll automatically fulfill it for you, and plenty of other good features along. So 7 figures, you guys will get a free pro membership for a month.
Unbelievable. And how much is that pro membership each month?
It's $49 usually.
I mean, very, very affordable, guys. For the amount of value that software is giving you, like, there's a lot of bang for the buck. And if we've all learned anything, and I think about, our business and how many vital pieces of software that it takes, and that software just gives you such a massive advantage against your competition to get things done efficiently, as Jared's talking about. So super, super important. And so now you've gone from mentoring people to you've created these massive drop shipping businesses, and then you get to Zendrop. Now, did you have experience creating software? Did your partners? Because software is such a great opportunity in business. It's where the most valuable companies are often found. There's the recurring revenue where you make a sale, and people, if you do a good job of your product, they come back month after month. So what was the process like for you guys to create a software that was effective, and break that down for us?
Yeah. So personally, I don't have any background in software development. As a matter of fact, I can barely even speak to it because I'm not good with development. But the thing is, there's a lot of resources out there for you. There's a lot of developers you can hire. What's really important, though, is having a Class A project manager and designer that could write stories and use Scrum methodology to give to your developers. So, I started originally when I brought Zendrop. We actually launched it under a different name, but now we launched it as Silk Road originally, and then after a few months we rebranded it. But when we came up with the concept, we were assuming it would take about 6 months to build the basic functionality. And 2.5 years later, I learned that software always takes longer than you expect.
It costs a lot more than you planned on, right?
Yeah, it costs a lot more. I mean, I've invested, multiple 7 figures of my own money into building it. Wow. You don't need to, though. I mean, I've built softwares in the past that cost me, $50,000 to make, but it's like what you put in is what you get out. So, one thing to know, especially if you're a marketer like me, I want to move quick. I want to keep moving, but I've really had to tame myself down and let the software catch up with what we're doing. And now we're building so many different verticals. For example, we're building a vertical called ZenPay, which is our own payment processing solution. And what it does is if you're fulfilling your products through Zendrop and you're using autofulfill, we'll make sure we never hold any of your funds or shut down your account, which a lot of drop shippers run into that problem. And the reason
Especially with Amazon. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients we've helped out with financing that, Amazon just shut my account down, or, Amazon's holding my account now for several weeks, or same thing with PayPal.
Yeah, and the reason is because the banks need to mitigate their risk against one or two bad eggs that don't fulfill their products and get a ton of chargebacks. So they try to take like a 10% reserve from everyone. So the banks don't want to take the risk. But with us, since we're the ones actually doing the fulfillment, we know your data. We know that you're fulfilling the product, and we're in a partnership with Stripe. So we're white labeling their platform, and we'll guarantee to never hold the funds. But even something like that, you think it'll take 2 months to build out, but it could easily be 6 months or 8 months. So it's like, you have to be patient, and you have to have a long-term vision to stick with software. A lot of people in today's age, we're so trained and we're so in the environment of like really quick information. We're scrolling on Instagram. TikTok's even worse, right? You got like a 10-second attention span. You think of this, you can't even hold an idea for more than like 4 minutes. But if you're going to build a software, you have to be in it long term. So my advice is really crystallize what your vision is, really map it out, really build a plan, and you got to commit to it, because it's going to take longer than you think. And if you keep changing your mind, you're going to be in a position where you don't end up liking where you are.
And how much of a key would you say it is to actually have experience within the industry? Because obviously you've been doing drop shipping and Shopify and online e-commerce for several years. So you kind of had a good idea of what it was going to take and what software actually would help and pay dividends. Yeah, how vital do you think that was for you guys to create the right software?
Well, I think in coming up with what to make, it's important to have some pulse on the customer that you're building it for. But I think more so than experience or technical abilities or marketing knowledge, you really need emotional intelligence. We did a coaching program. I had 500 group coaching students that would get on a Zoom call every week, and people would hop on the call. And if I spoke to somebody for 5 or 10 minutes, you'd get people that came on and they knew everything about dropshipping. They knew everything about running ads, but they had a bit of skepticism, and they kind of were more on the negative side, and they were making their decisions based on fear, and they were just kind of dipping their toe. And no matter how good they were, I knew they weren't going to win. But then you'd get people that come in, they would wake up, they would first thing they would think about was all the opportunity they had versus like all the problems that they had. They'd remind themselves of the opportunity. They'd be excited. They were in a good mood. So emotionally, they were very intelligent. And even if they had no skills, those people were much more likely to succeed than the people who had skills, but a low emotional intelligence. So where I try to focus a lot of my attention is on feeling good. That's number one. I built out a meditation room in my house. I like to spend an hour to an hour and a half in there every morning, just with some good music, no phone, thinking about the day, thinking about my vision, stretching, like getting myself like low levels of stress, because also your energy is very fragile in the morning. Like if you wake up and you read a bad Instagram DM, like that emotion could stay with you for like 3 hours, and you're like, why do I feel so shitty? So my advice is focus more on who you want to be than what you need to do. And then the thoughts you need to do what you need to do, they'll flow to you, as opposed to you chasing them from a bad state of mind, if that makes sense.
Great insights. And I've interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs and reading so many books about it, that morning and how you start your morning and the morning meditation. And it's so vital. It's so vital. And who you want to be will attract, where you want to go after you actually figure out who you want to be as an entrepreneur, as a person, family, whatever it might be. So amazing stuff. Again, guys, Zendrop.com, and amazing value bombs. You'll probably want to listen to this episode a few times and take notes with Jared's experience and all the value pieces that he's dropped for us. Jared, how else can the audience and us serve you, and how can we connect with you online?
Well, you can connect with me on social. As of the last 6 months, I'm not very active on there, but I do check my DMs. So happy to connect with people. And really all we look for is better ways to serve people. So if you have any suggestions, if you try our software and you have any feedback for us, we greatly value the feedback and for giving us better ways to serve the community.
Amazing story, guys. Jared Goetz, co-founder of Zendrop.com. Go check it out. I know we've got a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs listening to this podcast. And again, implement what he's teaching, have the right mindset, and bounce back from adversity. Don't let, get through the fear. I mean, just amazing how at age 19, how someone can start building. And so maybe you're not 19, maybe you're 30, maybe you're 50, whatever position you find yourself in, you can change it all. And when you do, and you begin to reach out, magical things can happen. Jared, thanks so much for being a guest on the podcast and the amazing value that you've shared.
Thank you, Leo. Thanks for having me on. Great being here.
Are you looking for more seven-figure secrets, content, or even how you can launch your own recession-proof business? Then check out sevenfigures.com. That's the digit 7, FIGURES.com, where we share more videos, stories, strategies, funding solutions, entrepreneurial education, and even the secret business type that's recession-proof. Thank you for listening, and if you're finding value in our podcast, please give us a 5-star and invite others to join the club.